Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, everyone. I hope all of you are doing well and doing great. My name is Deepak. I have 15 plus years of experience in this field. So, guys, let's get started now. The topic for today is Google Cloud IAM. And now let's get started with the actual topic, which is like what is Google Cloud IAM. Before we jump onto the Google Cloud IAM part, let's understand first what cloud computing is. Once you got a thorough understanding about cloud computing, we are going to talk about what exactly the GCP is. So, what exactly is cloud computing? Cloud computing is a way through which you can store your data application on remote servers. You can process your data application from the servers, and you can access your data applications via the internet. That's the whole summary of your cloud computing. Now let me take a step back. Let me explain the evolution. Everything has a history behind it. Same thing with the cloud computing. When this entire concept of cloud was started, it's not like that overnight we established a very good foundation for cloud. For everything we take a base step, and it's not like for a cloud for every industry. In every industry we do the same thing. Like if you talk about Paytm, when the Paytm was started, they started with a very small thing like a digital wallet, digital money that you can do. And now if you see their horizon, they reach to a point through which you can book the flight tickets, book the train tickets. You can you can open a bank account with them. You can store your FDs. You can also do all those things where you can purchase the gold, you can purchase the insurance, and all this kind of stuff is available. Now, if you talk about cloud, when the cloud was basically launched, it was launched to store your data only. So you can store your data, you can retrieve your data. That was only the core functionality of the cloud in beginning when it was introduced. Now we evolved ourselves. We realized that okay, that's a good solution, but what's next we can do? We got a good response from the market. It's a very good solution. You don't have to carry your drives all the time. You can just store your data in a cloud, and you can access it anywhere you want without having a need of physical computers, physical drives. It basically makes your life easier. Now we got another challenge that's a good thing, but what exactly happen if there is an organization, they have, let's say, multiple branches all over the globe, and wherein this company majorly deals with the sales, and the different people in the organization are working in different time zones, and it will happen that their clients can also have different branches all over the globe. So let's say they are working for an organization. Let's say the name of the organization is HCL. HCL is in India, and HCL is in America as well, in US basically. So someone was able to make a gig in HCL India, and someone was able to make a gig in HCL Americas as well. Now the thing is that this data may correlate, this data may sometime it can be both the people are referring with the same name. The person who is putting the data in from India, which is for HCL India, he's putting the name as HCL, and the person who is putting the data for HCL America, who is in US, he is putting the name as HCN only. Now you are going to have two records of the same line. So in certain cases, it may get overridden, it may get deleted, it may get truncated. So many things can happen. At the same time, you are not going to have a real-time interface, because let's say a couple of people are accessing that file, they are downloading it on their system, then they are uploading it. What is the latest version? Like, I'm the CEO, I want to take a look at the file. What is the latest version for this? It was again a problem. So cloud gave a solution wherein you can just have your entire data, instead of storing the data, have a real-time processing of data on the cloud, like a SharePoint and all, where I put my data, my Excel sheet. All the people from your organization can access that data on the cloud itself. Like if you have, let's say, 50 branches all over the globe, all the 50 people, or maybe like let's say 100 people as well over the globe, they will be able to access your data on the on the cloud itself. Like they will be able to see what exactly your data is. They will be able to see that what all people are making the changes. So for example, in India, I'm making a change for HCL India, other person is making a change in HCL Americas. So people will be able to make the changes for different countries, and it will give the access to them that they will be able to read the data in the real time. They will be able to see that, like, I am Deepak, I'm making a change in this entry, in this line. They will be able to see my name as well. So those kind of functionality was introduced, which was again a beginning of the new era in the cloud. So that was a good thing. Now, other challenge we got is, okay, that's something we can achieve with cloud. Now, there are certain other challenges in the organization, that it's good to use cloud for various things like storing the data or accessing the data in the real time. Now, the organization, let me put in two use cases, or I would say, let me put it in a different way. Let me give you two problem statements, and I will provide you the solution using the cloud, how cloud basically has helped and how cloud has evolved. Let's say there is an organization or which is a startup. The name is ABC Corp. The person started the organization and with, let's say, 10 people, and it's into service based organization, a development firm. So he made a small investment because he is a startup. He don't have that much funding. He hired 10 people. He gave them the laptops. Laptop was of old configuration because those were laptops were cheaper, and that was out of their budget. He was not able to spend like 1 lakh rupees on every other laptop, so he purchased the cheapest one, maybe Windows XP or Windows Vista or Windows 7, the legacy operating system, and he gave the laptop to all the people. Now, he got a project from an organization which was a 6 months project. For in order to work on that project, he will need heavy softwares like maybe Visual Studio, Ajax Toolkit. Like, he needs heavy softwares, but the softwares that he has to install on the laptop basically was not compatible, because the laptop that he gave to his employees in the organization was the old one, was a legacy laptop. Now he has to make that investment. He has to purchase that again, 10 new laptops. So it's going to be an additional cost for him to purchase the laptops. It will take time to get this laptop delivered. Along with that, it will again take time to configure those laptops. So let's say he purchased the laptops, and he will need some time to configure these laptops. He had to hire maybe IT person who can help in configuring these laptops. Along with that, he has to purchase a license for Windows as well. So he has to install, let's say, Windows 10. He has to purchase a license. In terms of cost, if I talk about, he has to spend the cost for the laptop, which is the hardware. He has to spend the cost on the license of the operating system. He has to spend the cost bringing a person who can configure this laptop, and he has to buy it some time. Now, let's say he got the project of $5,000, and he realized that the investment, the time that he has to make, it's going to be, let's say, $10,000. So instead of having a profit, he is going to have a loss. And I will tell you how cloud can help in overcoming this challenge. Let me give you another scenario. Let's say there is an organization, it's a big organization, they don't have a budget constraints, they already have a higher configuration laptops, external hard drive, everything that they have given to their employees. Now, in that organization, there is a person who work as a solution architect, whose job is to understand the requirement of the customer and to build a technical solution for them. And he has to present the solution. Let's say the client has a need that they want to build basically a secure database wherein they are using Oracle. They want to use the concept of TDE, which is transparent data encryption. So in order to do so, what he will require a couple of virtual machine or physical machine. Now, if he require a couple of physical machine, it will be difficult for him to manage, and he will require a couple of virtual machines. So his laptop has a, let's say, capacity of 500 GB of hard drive and 8 GB of RAM. So that person will not be able to create so many virtual machines. So maybe he can use external computers or different computers for that, or he can use different hard drive for that. Now, the challenging thing in this case is going to be to manage those physical assets. Now, let's say he's traveling. Now, he has built the entire solution. It took 2 months. He worked day and night, and he built the entire platform, entire solution. And he has to travel to a different country. And let's say he built it on 5 external hard drive. And when he was traveling, he lost maybe two of the hard drive. And when he has to present it in the front of customer, in those two hard drive, there was a important VM which has a core concept of the TDE, Oracle TDE, and the migration. It's going to be very embarrassing for him as an individual, for the company as well, because he's going to represent the company. Now, how cloud can help you in achieving the goal for both the use cases? I will start with the first thing. That was a evolution of the cloud, and that's the thing that we majorly focus on nowadays on the cloud, and we try to utilize for various things to cloud. Now, if I talk about the first use case, wherein the person was a CEO of a startup, and he got the project. So wherein he has to spend that much money on purchasing the license, laptop, and configuring it. So what he can do is he can take an advantage of cloud, wherein it's like the service which is going to be he's going to be charged for whatever he's going to consume, like the electricity unit. Whatever the units you consume, you pay for that. Similar thing in the cloud. It's basically whatever you're consuming, you have to pay for it. So he can just take the virtual machine subscription from the cloud, and instead of having their employees to have a different laptop wherein he want to have that investment on the hardware license and everything, he can just spin up the virtual machines. He can just download the RDP file. He can give the 10 RDP file, which is it's actually 10 virtual machines from the cloud to this 10 employees. Since they have a laptop, they just need to work on the direct virtual machine. Over there, they can install the softwares that they want. So he don't have to pay that much extra money again for purchasing the hardware. He don't have to spend that much extra money to purchase a license. He don't have to spend that much extra money to hire someone to manage this assets basically. Now the good thing in that case is, instead of having that much pain to handle everything, to spend that much money, to be dependent on someone else, so all the employees can work on that virtual machine for 6 months. Once that project is completed, he can delete the virtual machine and he's not going to be charged. Now in terms of finances, if I talk about, he got that project of $5,000, and if he's going to calculate the spendings, he has to hardly spend $1,000, let's say. So again, this is a hypothetical figure I'm telling you. Still now he is able to make a profit of $4,000. In terms of percentage, if I talk about, out of 100%, which was $5,000, he make an investment of $1,000, which is basically 20%, and for rest of the 80%, he got the profit. Good deal. Now coming to the second problem statement that I shared, the user basically who works in a big organization, he is a solution architect. Now when he has to travel, if he is building the entire solution on the cloud, when he's traveling, there is no need for him to carry the entire bulk of physical assets, whether it's about the laptop, whether it's about the hard drive. There is no need to carry all those kind of things. He can simply carry a laptop with him, or if he wants to go with nothing, he can go to the customer side without having anything. He can just ask for a computer, and which is connected to a projector, and he can just log into his cloud account, and he can just download the um, solution that he have created, and he can present it to the entire audience. So it's basically easy, having something bulky in hand with nothing in hand. So you see the transition. That's the way the cloud has evolved. That's the thing right now we are there with this. So that's where the cloud computing helps you with everything. You can store your data, you can process your data, you can access your data, you can work on everything. Along with that, now it comes to an encryption part as well, where your data is going to be encrypted. It also takes care of your security from security point of view as well. Now, if I had to talk about cloud computing, if I had to generalize what I said, so the cloud computing is just the use of remote servers on the internet to manage, store, process data rather than on your local server or physical computer. You are just going to be a dependent on the servers which are be available on the internet. So it's on-demand self-service, which means that you can increase or decrease the resources. You can scale up or scale down the resources depending on the requirement. You don't have to be dependent on any of the IT person. You don't have to open a ticket with the cloud vendor. You can do it on your own. You can just make the changes. Let's say I want to increase the RAM, decrease the RAM, increase the hard drive, whatever you want to do, you will be able to make those changes. It's a measured service. So whatever you are going to consume, everything is going to be measured. You will be able to see what exactly you have consumed, and you are going to be charged as per the plan. Broad network access, you will be able to access from everywhere till the time you have the internet connection. Resource pooling basically means that if you want to create a cluster, you will be able to create a cluster environment. You can have several nodes in it. So that one node is down, your other nodes are going to remain up. And the rapid elasticity. So if you want to increase the resources more, you will be able to increase the resources very easily. So it's not going to give you a hard time that you can't increase the resources. You have a limitation. So you don't have that kind of limitation. Okay, now let's talk about what is GCP basically. So before we come on Google Cloud IAM, what exactly GCP? So GCP stands for Google Cloud Platform, which is basically offered by Google. This is a suite of cloud computing services which run on the same infrastructure that basically Google Cloud uses internally for its end users, like Google Search, Gmail, file storage, and YouTube. So this is basically the services which is provided by Google to the different people all over the globe. Now, coming to the point, the topic that we have, which is Google Cloud IAM, talking about what exactly Google Cloud IAM is. So IAM stands for Identity and Access Management, which lets you create and manage permission for Google Cloud resources. You have access of cloud, which is a very powerful thing. You can do a lot of things. Now you have to create and manage the permissions for the cloud. So how you can do it? You can do with the help of identity access management. So IAM lets you to create and manage permission for your Google Cloud resources. Like you can make someone as an administrator who will have all control. You can make someone as a as a contributor. He will have limited access, wherein he will be able to access the resources, but he will not be able to assign the permissions to other. So likewise, you can just assign the role. So that's a Google Cloud IAM, which basically with the help of which you can just manage the permissions for your Google Cloud services. Now coming to what exactly like how IAM works. So let's jump on that part. So there are three components who can do what or like on which resource basically. So in the case of IAM, like I said, IAM means Identity Access Management. So in the case of IAM, the permission to access the resource is not going to be granted directly to the end user. So in other words, end user will not have the central control. End user is not going to be the administrator. So you are not going to grant the direct access to the end user. Instead, the permissions are going to be grouped into the role, and users are going to be added to the role. So whosoever is going to be part of that role, they are going to inherit those permissions. So instead of giving the permission one by one to the end user, you are going to create different role, and with those different role, you are going to define the different permissions, and people are whosoever are going to be part of that role, they are going to inherit those permissions. It's very easy in the real time in the production. If you talk about wherein you have, let's say, 100,000 people, you can just create the role, and whenever you want to make any kind of change, you just change the permission on the role itself rather than change the permission for individual user. Otherwise it's going to be very painful for you in terms of management, how you're going to manage the different settings, different account for 100,000 users. That's why it basically focus on the role part. And you just create the the role with custom permissions, and with that you will be able to access it. Now, if I talk about the like how it works, so if you are going to talk about individual account, like in the case of role binding, if you have individual account, like you have a Google account with abc@xyz.com, you can have a service account which can be associated with that, and the permission is going to be generated for that specific account. So logs are going to be generated for that specific account. Now, if I have 100,000 user accounts, having 100,000 logs is going to be very tedious for me to manage. Wherein if I talk about the members, if I have a group, in the group I can have certain members. I can have cloud identity Google workspace, and with the help of log viewer I can view the logs at the same time in the real time. I can feed those logs basically into different platform, different tool, and the people basically over the Google Cloud Platform can view my logs if they are part of my enterprise. Along with that, if I'm doing a log forwarding, I can integrate with different solutions, SIMSOC solutions like Splunk and all, where I can define the criteria. If that if this error or something like that is going to occur, it should basically give an alert to me. So all those kind of things can be configured very easily. Now, coming to the other part, which is basically the IAM concepts, the different concept, the different members, which that we can have basically in this case is coming to that. So members can be of following types. You can have a Google account, wherein dedicated Google account on which you are going to provide the access, a service account, which basically that you want to use it for a specific, like certain operations that for logging, monitoring, for SMTPs, for specific tasks you want to use. You don't want to use a dedicated account, you want to use a service account. So you can have a Google group wherein you can just combine different people into that group, and all those people are going to inherit the access that you're going to provide in the group. For example, I'm giving certain access in the group. Whatever the access that I'm going to give in the group, all the users into that group are going to inherit those access. You basically have Google workspace domain, basically where it's like a kind of a dedicated workspace, wherein the kind of shared workspace people can work on and make the changes. Cloud identity domain, which basically means that you can use MFA and different solutions for that, wherein you can maintain your own identity, which can be integrated with your Google you can use for a single sign-on, and you can use for various purposes. Next one is all authenticated user, which means that if you have your own directory services that you already have at on premises, you can integrate those directory services with the cloud one, and users are going to be part of your environment. And again, the last one is the all users, which means that all the users in your enterprise will have their individual account, which is not a good approach, I would say. Now, if I talk about the other thing, which is your access management concepts. So you basically have a resource. Resource is basically a particular resource that you're looking for. Like in my case, I want to look for the resource. It can be a virtual machine, it can be a database, it can be anything. So resource basically mean an actual resource that you're looking for, on which you want to work according to your requirement, a virtual machine, an application, anything. Next is basically the permissions. You basically provide permissions to the resources, like who can access at what, like in certain cases you can set a duration as well, that data access is going to be limited to this specific duration. So all that kind of customization can be done. The third one basically is a role. So basically in the case of role, what will happen is you are going to create a role, and you're going to provide certain permission into that role, and the different resources or different users who are going to be part of that role are going to inherit those things. The last one is basically your IAM policy. So IAM policy means identity access management policy, the policy that you're going to define. So the people who are part of your identity access management group are going to inherit those policies directly. If I had to summarize in this entire thing, so in your organization you can have certain folders. And that certain folder basically you can have certain projects, you can have certain resources. So if you're going to provide the access to the entire organization, people will be able to access folder, project, resource. If I'm going to give access to the folder, the people will be able to access the project and the resource. If I'm going to provide the access to the project, people will be able to get access of the resource. And if I'm going to give an access directly on the resource itself, then the people will be able to get access to the direct resource who are part of it. So, and again, these are different rules that I said you can configure. So in other words, it's going to inherit thing, like you have a parent-child relationship. So you can inherit the features from your parents, plus you can have your own traits, right? So similar way, in this case, organization can inherit or can access all the subfolders which is there in the enterprise, and they will be able to work on that easily. Now, coming to the other part, like basically how you can enforce security IAM. So the important part is that you have identity access management, you are providing access to the resources, but how you can set the security on that. So in order to set the security through IAM, so you can enforce multi-factor authentication. Multi-factor authentication basically means that you are using more than one factor. Now, when you are logging into your account, you're using username and password, right? So instead of just using username and password, you are going to use username, password. Along with that, you can use a security token, or which is basically your, it can be like an OTP that you get on your phone, or you can have a dedicated device like RSA token, or you can get push notifications on your phone. So along with the one factor, you're going to use other factor as well. So so that if one factor is compromised, like your password is compromised, the other person, the hacker, will not be able to access your account with the other factor, because you have possession of both the factors. Even though your one factor is compromised, if someone has to compromise your account, he will require other factor as well. Next one is set up the password policy for users, wherein you are going to set up the password policy, like the password strength, the password age, like if it is lockout, like for how many hours, minutes, or day it's going to be lockout. You're going to set the password policy, like after how many months they have to change their password mandatory. So all that kind of policy you're going to implement. Next one is you have to give the necessary but the least possible privileges, which is very important. That's a the concept of principle of least privileges, which means that you should basically give at least privileges, like minimum privileges, to the user or the group of users to do the job. Now, if I'm giving let's say full access to everyone, I'm making everyone as an administrator in the organization, it's going to be a nightmare, where I have, let's say, 100,000 users, everyone is an administrator, everyone can make the changes, can like change the access, can do a lot of things. You can think that, okay, what's wrong in that? let's say one person, like I'm part of ABC organization and my competitor is XYZ. Someone from XYZ organization joined my organization ABC, and I made him the administrator, so he can make all the blunders. He can leak my data to my competitor, which is XYZ. He can put some post on the social media that we are going to be acquired, we are doomed, just to spoil the name and fame of the company. Along with that, the logging and monitoring is going to be very difficult. Think about it, when you have 100,000 users, basically in 100,000 users you are going to have 100,000 accounts, and you're giving same permission, which is admin permission, to everyone. If something goes bad, you are going to have millions of millions of entries, and you have to filter out those entries. It's going to take a while, sometimes it's going to take ages. So principle of least privileges says that you should basically give bare minimum privileges that people need for their account. Next one is the setup quotas. Setup quota basically means that you can set the limit, that once that limit is over, once those credit are over, they will not be able to use the service, so that they should not bump up your account. Otherwise what happen is you're creating more and more virtual machine, more and more storages. It's going to take a lot of space and the company is going to be charged. So you can set up the quota that beyond that quota the person will not be able to use the service. Last one is check and rotate service account keys, so which is very important. Now basically the way you change your passwords after every 3 months from security standpoint, if you're performing an encryption, you have to encrypt the data with the help of a key. If that key is compromised, key is lost, and someone got access of your key, it's going to become a big nightmare for you, because what will happen is those keys that you have are going to protect your entire environment. So like you change the password, you have to make sure that you are rotating the keys on time, so that if someone was able to get hold of the key, someone was able to access your key, that person was not able to compromise your environment. So all those kind of things you have to take care of. We can wrap up for today. I hope you have really enjoyed this session and you have learned a lot today. Bye bye. Take care.